Hello, everybody. My name is Darkbreaker, and today I'm reading Taste Testing, a Sonic fanfiction. What about you, Sonic? What's your fuel for the future? Sonic didn't waste any time in answering the question. That smile somehow curled even higher upon his peach muzzle, getting wider with a toothy display, emerald eyes fixed on the topaz ones before him. Future goal, he started, as if regarding the question like it was a rhetorical. Don't have one, he answered, as if it was the most obvious reply he could have given. Tempest almost didn't believe him, having had to blink a few times to really process it. Huh? It almost sounded kind of silly. Sonic didn't miss a beat. I've been a drifter my whole life. Arching his back up and out, he swung an arm behind his head, giving his shoulders a pop and his back a few cracks to stay loose, as if to drive home the point he was making. Just hopping from one island to the next, seeing the sights, enjoying the chili dogs. That smile grew wider. I'm satisfied just doing things my way. For one incalculable second, the dolphin's heart skipped a beat. I I see. Sonic looked off into the distance after that, the smile never leaving his face. How could he be so calm at a time like this? The reason eluded Tempest, but it didn't seem like it mattered much. From what little time she'd known of the Blue Hedgehog, she already had a greater idea of who he was as a person. He was simple, almost incredibly so. He was simple. But with that simplicity came an almost beautiful realization. He had a big heart and a carefree attitude that didn't dwell on the most recent past. He kept going. It didn't matter what happened, you just keep going. Sonic's whole life model seemed to be it doesn't matter. Rain, sleet, snow, or hail, he kept going, seeing the world. Good, bad, indifferent, it didn't matter. Tempest found herself repeating this phrase over and over in his head, not in a typically nihilistic manner, but one of positivity in forging onward. It sounded weird as hell, but it made sense in the context of Sonic. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch to assume it only worked for him, too. Not that he didn't have other things going for him besides some bizarre life philosophy. He was rather easy on the eyes. She didn't think it would be much of a crime to admire his frame while he was preoccupied with a flicky in a nearby tree. Attentive orange eyes scanned over Sonic's form, drinking in the details. Windswept cobalt fur lane in a certain way from running for so long, blown back and giving him such a streamlined look. It was almost hard to believe he wasn't born running. Although, for all she knew, he probably did. He didn't seem like your average Mobian. From what little she felt of his actual body when being carried earlier from their spat with that aggressive lava wave, he was a bit stringy in the muscles department. But what there was made way for taut sinew and flesh, formed together in a cohesive, lean, mean speed machine. He didn't look very strong, but the way he easily smashed the stone wall was evidence to the contrary. Her mind started to wander just as her eyes did, sliding down that sloping, broad chest. While his fur seemed to be wild like the rest of his appearance, the two-tone combo of peach and cobalt did him a lot of favors. It was such an odd collar as well. Colorful Mobians weren't rare by any means, but never had she heard of a blue hedgehog. What an oddity. Wait, what? Colorful Mobians weren't rare by any means, but never had she heard of a blue hedgehog? What an odd. What? Knuckles is a red. What the. How is that odd? Tempest found herself gulping inaudibly when she got to Sonic's legs. His upper arms weren't anything to write home about, but his legs were a different story. It was subtle, too. The vibrant blue fur hid most of it, but the hint of a powerful set of muscles lined underneath, almost rippling with every movement, her impression being even the slightest touch would send a powerful coil into a kickback. Tempest? The dolphin was broken out of her reverie at the sound of her name over the crackling fire, looking up at Sonic's perplexed visage. With her gaze locked into his, he pointed at her general direction. You're biting your lip. Something bugging you? With mouth slightly agape, she closed it before she looked any more slack-jawed than she was, with a faint, rosy blush brushing across her nose. Yeah, yeah, I'm all right. Just thinking a lot. Amongst other things, Sonic didn't think much of it, shrugging his shoulders as he rolled one arm to work out any stillness lingering within. Well, that's enough rest for me. Thanks for the grub. Caught off guard just a little, the dolphin girl shot at him a surprised, questioning look. Ready to get back on the road? She almost said yes, with both hands raised up in an amused, bewildered smile. Scratching the side of her cheek, she could only regard him with a disbelieving stare. Are you for real? You hurt your arm pretty bad, and eating a few wild berries for like an hour doesn't consist of rest. We've been running for what seems like all day. For not the first time that day, Sonic fixed her with a wrinkled pout, looking more like a child with the way he furrowed his brow. You don't gotta be a spoil sport. I ain't used to staying in one place for more than an hour or two unless I'm sleeping. It showed. Puffing out a cheek, Tempest huffed before standing up, circling around the fire to take a seat beside the blue hedgehog, his gaze held steady as he watched her. I know you want to get moving right away, but you seriously need to consider resting longer if you don't want any breaks later. With the way his body language spoke, Sonic seemed tensed, unhappy with what he was being told, but not angry. Disappointed, sure, but he looked at Tempest again, objecting. What are you, my mom? Tempest tried to ignore the vivid mental image crashing into her brain. She failed spectacularly and only ended up looking embarrassed to Sonic, who laughed at her red cheeks. I'm serious, she repeated, lightly thwacking his leg with her palm. That same palm that laid itself upon his strong, worked thigh. It was Sonic's turn to act affronted. Why do you care so much, anyways? I do things on my own terms, I told you. Tempest shook her head, countenance serious in a way. What the countenance serious in a way Sonic couldn't reliably describe. Doesn't that mean someone has to rein you in sometimes then? She countered back. Sonic hadn't seriously thought about anyone caring for him before, unless they were his parents. But that was a long, long time ago. How fucking old is he supposed to be? A memory he'd blocked out and almost dug back up had Tempest not settled her free hand upon his warm cheek, snapping him back into a frozen state. Green eyes peered into orange-like ones. Orange-likes? When did she get so close? Tempest seemed to realize as well, because she pulled away almost as immediately as it happened. God, that sentence is awkward. Sonic found himself missing the sudden absence when she pulled away. Missing the sudden absence? What? What the fuck does that mean? You say you take in the sights, but how can you do that if you don't stop to smell the flowers? Are you fucking kidding me? She was looking away as she said that, off into some treetop, arms crossed under her bosom, legs one over the other. It was corny, but she was right. She wouldn't admit this out loud, but she really liked their back and forth argument. It was a refreshing change of pace to have someone who could regularly match you in petty banter. I don't know who's saying this line, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's Sonic. I guess it is getting late. Who knows what kind of things are out there in the dark? The twilight dust settled behind the canopy of trees on their position, turning the small clearing into a peaceful, solitary post under the stars, against the encroaching dark. Sonic wasn't totally happy with this turn of events, but if the way he seemed to stiffen up against was any indication, he was beginning to feel the drawl of fatigue sneak up on him. Chalk it up to women's intuition, since Tempest apparently saw this coming a mile away. Nightfall came soon after that, with the duo sitting beside each other, making stupid jokes and chucking pebbles into the fire. Wow. Chucking pebbles into the fire. Immaculate storytelling there. Because that's what everyone does when they fucking go out camping. They just chuck pebbles into the fire. They don't roast marshmallows or weenies or anything. They throw fucking rocks into the fire. Okay. The dolphin had a slight snort to her laugh that Sonic couldn't help but find cute. Her staunch denial of such a trait made the hedgehog snicker, which in turn made her chuckle too. That laugh was infectious, she had to admit. He wasn't just all good looks, he seemed really down to earth. Mom would probably love him if he weren't a hedgehog. What the fuck? Realizing this, she half groaned, half laughed, covering her face in her hands. Sonic made a tiny snirk at that,
It wasn't that funny.
though with the tinge of mirth to his voice dictated otherwise. She waved both her hands, wiping a tear from her eye. No, it's just, remember when I told you about my home? Sorta?
Gosh, they would be so conflicted.
Sonic, intrigued, rose a brow as he popped another berry and chucked another pebble.
About what? Gonna take me home to meet the parents?
How fucking thick are you? Yes, that's exactly what she meant. Tempest outright chortled at the idea, losing her composure for a brief moment. Should I dress like a dapper gentleman for Mr. and Mrs. Dolphin? That's Mr. and Mrs. the Dolphin, Sonic.
Oh, if only. Then I could play up that rebellious teen phase they seem to think I'm stuck in for wanting to see the world.
Sonic let out a mild deflating noise.
What?
Sonic let out a mild deflating noise upon hearing that, shaking his head.
Some people just don't get it. You and me are like two peas in a pod. At least we get each other.
Tempest could have been mistaken, but she could have sworn there was a tinge of sadness in that statement. It was gone as soon as it came, however, and Sonic flicked a pebble lazily toward the campfire. Just can't get enough of that pebble flicking, and Tempest, coming down from her laughing fit, felt a sweep of melancholy wash over her chest. Looking over to Sonic, who seemed unperturbed, then down to their hands perilously close to each other. "Sonic," she chanced, keeping her gaze focused on on his digits.
Yeah,
He replied.
do you ever get lonely?
His fingers twitched, ever so slightly. His index finger suddenly started tapping against the grass, drowned out by the mild cracking of their fire in front of them. The question hung in the air as the silence around them became pregnant. The question hung in the air as the silence around them became pregnant, and for what seemed like an eternity, Tempest grew worried that she broached a subject she shouldn't have. All right, and that's the end of part one of this. Part two will be up tomorrow. So thank you for watching. I'm Darkbreaker. Uh, if you want to hear more of my voice, there's one other video up on this channel at the moment, and you can also check out me and my friend Noah's or his channel, but I appear on it most of the time. Noah Eats Food should be in the description, and it should be on the screen now. Links to the original stories in the description. Thanks for watching.